It was a crisp autumn morning when Mike Clifton, a seasoned hunter, set out for a weekend hunting trip with his daughter's boyfriend Mark and Mark's father Tom. Mark, a city boy with no prior hunting experience, was eager to prove himself in the eyes of his potential future father-in-law. Tom, a middle-aged man with a quiet demeanor, had agreed to join the expedition to bond with his son and indulge in the great outdoors. Little did they know, this hunting trip would become a tale they'd share in hushed whispers for years to come. The trio spent the day trudging through the forest, their senses attuned to the rustling leaves and the distant calls of wildlife. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they set up camp for the night. A small fire crackled. The men shared stories and laughter, bonding over the shared experience. As the night settled in, they retired to their tents, hoping for a peaceful night's sleep. However, fate had other plans. In the dead of night, the men were jolted awake by the thunderous sound of heavy footsteps. It was at a speed that seemed too rapid for a human and too powerful for a mere animal. Bewildered, the trio emerged from their tents, scanning the darkness with squinted eyes, but nothing tangible revealed itself. They sat in vigilant silence for what felt like an eternity. Eventually, fatigue took its toll, and they retreated back to their tents, dismissing the disturbance as an enigma of the wild. In the wee hours of the morning, just before the first light touched the sky, Mark ventured out to relieve himself. As he stood in the cool darkness, the stillness was shattered by the unmistakable crunch of footsteps and an accompanying low, guttural grunting. He strained his eyes, attempting to pierce the inky blackness, but the source remained elusive. Mark hurried back to camp, a mix of fear and excitement etched on his face. He recounted the eerie encounter to Mike and Tom, who dismissed it as the nocturnal wanderings of local wildlife. Undeterred, the trio continued their expedition, scanning the surroundings for signs of elusive prey. As the morning unfolded, the men found a promising spot huddled behind a shrub, their eyes keenly scanning the surroundings. Suddenly, a deep baritone howl reverberated through the air, freezing them in their tracks. Wide-eyed, they exchanged incredulous glances. A few minutes later, a strange silence enveloped the forest. The men exchanged puzzled looks, sensing an inexplicable shift in the atmosphere. Before they could fathom the situation, a loud knocking sound echoed through the trees, sounding as though someone was hitting a tree with a baseball bat. Perplexed and a little concerned, they decided to end their hunt. After all, they hadn't seen any deer during this trip anyway. Frustrated, they made their way back to the campsite, packed up their belongings, and headed back towards their car. As they approached the vehicle, their eyes widened in disbelief. Walking toward their car was the creature they had only heard about in myths and legends, Bigfoot. Mike, Mark, and Tom stood frozen, their breaths caught in their throats. Mike instinctively reached for his weapon, but Tom gently placed his hand on Mike's wrist and shook his head to caution him. At that time, the creature looked up directly at them. The colossal creature, covered in matted fur, met Mike's gaze with an intensity that somehow made him feel less fear. As he lowered his weapon, the Sasquatch let out a loud, guttural howl that could be heard a mile away. The trio stood in awe as another Sasquatch responded in the distance. Then the massive being retreated toward the tree line, disappearing into the depths of the woods. Silence engulfed the hunters as they processed the surreal encounter on the drive home. Mike and Mark, once skeptics, found themselves forever changed by that fateful hunting trip. A few more reports of the local Bigfoot over the next few years made the Wildman of Enon a local legend. There were 5 sightings of Sasquatch in the Enon, Ohio area from 1988 to 2000 reported to BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization. We thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed this video based on an actual account. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter, please let us know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe for future videos.